Welcome to Kingdom Metalworks. So on this session, we're going to take our panel. We're going to trim it down a tatty so that we have less material in the front. When I first made the paper pattern up, I left some material so I could wheel and shape and do what I needed to do. And as you can see, there's less here. So I'm going to trim it down so I can get it closer to my flange. So putting one to the other, just to give me an understanding of, hey, am I even in the ballpark? You can see, sitting the panel in, it doesn't sit too bad across the back. I've still got a little air gap in the back here, and I've got an air gap in the front. So you can see right here where I shape this up and in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to trim in just a little bit of material coming in through around here, and then I'm going to anneal the panel. So let's get started. We can continue with our shaping. As you can see from the sweeps, we've got a little ways to go on our shaping, just to refer back to where we were. So this one's not too far off. You can see that I made the new sweep up and made it the same as the old one, just to give me a better reference, so that when I put it on my line and mark, it looks about the same. I put one to the other, back to back, and made them up. So having said that, I look at the shape and I say, oh yeah, I need to bring more shape into this section all the way through here. Let's check with our number one. I need to do the same through there. You can see the shaping right in my area where my fingers are. So I'm needing to bring more shape in here, and I'm needing to drop this over. And so I'm going to just trim that in. What I'm going to use is masking tape. The flange that I have on the original is 3/4 inch flange. I could use 3/4 inch. By the time I finished shrinking and adjusting, I need a little bit of extra material, say 1/4 inch. So I'm going to use inch tape. And this is just roughing out because I know roughly where the flange needs to go, because I'm utilizing the first one. So there's one panel on top of the other. You can see that the material is up in here. So I'm going to designate an area, say right there, and then shape one to the other. As I flip that over, I now see that our shaping is going to be roughly in that area there. It's not a whole bunch to trim off, I guess, in the sense of up in this area. Like I said, I only left a 3/4 inch or so. But I'm just taping off the line to give me reference down in here. Like I say, it's just a rough. We'll get more accurate towards the end because we'll be utilizing the paper pattern to make it perfectly accurate so I can mark in. Having done that, I'm now going to mark in. If this is the inside of my flange and this area is going to be flipped down on the extra, I then know that I've got to at least trim in to about here. So I'm coming into my inside curve, which is about here, and that's where the catwalk starts, and I've got to pick up all of this material in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim right on this line here. I'm then going to bring this back in, and then I'm going to trim a little of my material off in here. So then that gives me, so having said that, this is the flange. It needs to be cut through here because that flange is dropping down, and therefore I've got to change it to a 90-degree, and I can't stretch it down that far, so I have to do a cut right in the perfect spot to be able to get this to trim in through, anneal this, and dress this down and through. So let's get busy with our snips, and we'll trim that in a tatty. Just trimming slots in the excess makes it a little easier for me to stay on the line. We're now going to trim off into our curve. And then I'm going to trim off that excess. And I just need to continue down with my flange just a little bit more. Notice I use the snips upside down sometimes because it's easier to get a nice true cut rather than come in across the top. I come in underneath. Different people do different things. That's just something I do. So now I'm just going to trim in roughly to that point there. So now I have my relief panel. I have this ready to anneal. We're going to anneal up in this section here, and I'm going to tip this flange down and over to give me the shape. So we're just coordinating the whole panel to where it's at, see where we're doing, how we're doing it. So now you can see where I've trimmed my panel, and my panel is slightly larger than the original. I'm just truing it up and made a straighter, nicer, sharper edge panel. But you can see basically I'm in the same context. And like I say, I'm needing to bring the shape up and over. I'm needing to put more bend through here. But we're not sitting too bad at all. So now we've trimmed our material in, let's get to our next stage, which will be annealing that front section. Now to anneal the panel, there's a couple of ways to anneal aluminum. For this exercise, I'm going to anneal it. It needs to get to about 600 degrees, 600 degrees when it's annealed. And then that way, metal's nice and soft. I'm going to utilize a propane torch. And the propane torch has just got a spiral diffuser on the front. So it gives a slightly hotter flame, spinning the air into the flame. I'm just going to use a regular bar of soap to do this exercise. And so as I look in the margin line on this one, right where my profile comes in is where I need to anneal and go forward. So there's my margin line. I'm going to anneal from here and anneal forward. So for that, I'm just going to place some soap on there. A little bit of soap. And then we'll start annealing. And what we're looking for as we're annealing, we're watching the soap, and when it starts turning brown, I know I'm coming up to temperature. It's probably about 200 degrees. Once it starts going black, I know I'm coming into about the 4. And then once it starts going white ash, I know I'm coming up to a fully annealed panel that's very close to being crystallized, and I don't want to crystallize the grain, so I can anneal this numerous times as I want. So like I said, there's my soap. It's starting to turn brown. It's starting to turn a darker brown. I need it to be black. So as it starts warming up, you can see a slight orange glow come from the soap. Now it's turning black, and I know that I'm getting close to the temperature that I need it to be. Now it's starting to turn black, so I know we're getting up there in temperature. There we go. So I feel that that's right at perfect temperature. As you can see, you can still see my mark lines. Some people use a Sharpie just to anneal a panel. Other people use the oxyacetylene and take the acetylene carbon and then just float it on and burn it off. I could have done that way, but I chose to use the soap. I find it a little bit cleaner, a little better to go with. So I'm just going to grab myself a towel here, just real quick. And now I know that that's a good temperature. Just wipe off the excess just a little bit. And using the towel, you can see that the metal is relatively soft. Now, I did this as the first stage. I'm then going to jump onto the lead shot bag. And like I said in the previous video, I was going to show you on the lead shot bag how to get this to come over and how to get this a little deeper and how to get this to lay over just a taddy more. So just continuing. It's a process. I could have got the oxyacetylene torch out, but okay, so there we have an annealed panel. Notice I was holding the torch this direction rather than holding the torch this direction, which would have heated this up a lot more. And when I come into doing wheeling, it's going to stretch a lot quicker here than it will back here. But I don't want it too soft, and I don't want to be able to stretch up too quickly. So there you have it. That's the first stages. Quick little trim in. We're going to now stretch that over. And if you like the information, hit the like button and subscribe if you'd like to.